Okay. Before I introduce Nadia, I just want to give a really quick run through of Remo. My name is Ho-Yen. First of all, I'm really happy to collaborate with Nadia on this, and I just wanted to give a really quick run through of Remo, and then I will give it to Nadia, and she will take it away. So on the top right corner, we have a Q&A section where you can enter questions. And after that, the questions will pop up and they can be voted on. So we're quite democratic here. And on the bottom right, it's just a general chat. You guys can voice your opinions and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. And I'll hand it to Nadia.
Yes, welcome everybody. Welcome our dear audience. I see that many people are gathering, which is amazing news. Let me just give you an idea why we have decided to run this event in the first place with Remo, because it's an amazing platform. I mean, I'm sure you know, you're just testing it right now. And you'll be convinced after the event that it's really great. And here at Talent Place, we are a community of remote recruiters. We work from all over the world. And we ourselves hire for the culture fit for Talent Place, but also for our clients. So that's why we thought it's going to be amazing to share insights with some of our amazing speakers, stars when it comes to both culture fit and remote work. So let's start the first panel, which is the culture fit. I see everybody's here. We have Alina, we have Anita, we have Kasia, we have Małgorzata, and we have Saïd. We are spread all over the world, so we go global. So let's get the thing started. Maybe everybody's going to introduce themselves real briefly. Let's start.
Hi guys, so maybe I will start as a first. So really nice to be here. My name is Kasia, I'm from Poland. I actually work in HR for 17 years, but the last several years I'm focused on a new topic, I think very important in the virtual places as well, happiness at work. So I'm actually the first certified Chief Happiness Officer in Poland, running a lot of consulting. Also, I just done the first conference on that topic in Poland, so I'll be very happy to share with you anything you might need to make your workplaces and the virtual relationship happier. So great to be here.
Perfect. Alina, I see you're kind of willing to introduce yourself right away.
Great. Hi, everyone. So I'm Alina, and I'm working at Insider. It's like a global tech company operating in the marketing technology sphere. And so we're running global recruitment in many countries. And actually, the reason why I'm here today, because I'd like to share and also to learn a bit more about the culture. And my personal interest is actually about people's motivations. Why do they decide to choose some companies to work for? Why do they leave? And how we can help them to actually stay and make them a little bit more happier.
Perfect. Anita, now your turn.
Yay. Hi, guys. My name is Anita, as you know. I'm based in Dublin. I'm originally from Poland, but I've been based in Dublin for the last 13 years. I think I have plenty of years of experience in the recruitment, but last 10 months I'm working for HubSpot. I think one of the best companies in the globe, definitely one of the best in Europe, which is quite famous for actually culture and how we actually drive our culture. Very nice to meet you all.
Pleasure's all ours. Małgorzata.
Hello, my name is Małgorzata and I'm from Poland, and I am a senior recruitment specialist at Netguru. It's an IT company, and before I joined Netguru, I had been working at ING. So I'm very excited to be here and can't wait for our today's conversation.
Last but not least, Saïd.
Wow, what an intro. Hi, everybody. My name is Saïd. I work for 5CA, and at 5CA we're a global contact center, and I'm responsible for our work from home program, and so generating engagement opportunities for all of our people spread out all over the world, and hopefully creating some reason to stay with us. So yeah, very excited to be here today. Looking forward to learning from all of your experience and sharing some of my own, hopefully, as well.
Yes, We're eager to find out more. I'm sure everybody's going to have some valuable hints and insights. So, guys, so many people talk about culture fit, right? Should we hire for culture fit? Shouldn't we hire for culture fit? Culture fit is everywhere. Is it a buzzword? What does it look like in HubSpot, Anita?
So definitely for us here at HubSpot, it wouldn't be only a buzzword. And obviously, as I said in the introduction, HubSpot is very well known as a provider and leader really in online marketing and inbound methodology. But I think we are also a leader in terms of how we drive our culture. And I'm not saying this without a reason. This year we've been voted to be a best place to work actually in Europe, which is a great achievement, and part why we've been actually voted to be a best place to work is actually our culture. And obviously the culture that we've got at HubSpot at the moment, it doesn't happen overnight. So this is something that has been created in the past years, and our famous code of culture document, and I'm sure that you've read about it a lot on the internet.
Yes, of HubSpot. I mean, it's super famous. I've used it many times myself. Yay.
Exactly. And it's a huge document, like of 121 pages, I think. But it has been changed in the past couple of years, 25 times already. So we constantly develop our culture, which is not something that we, as I said, created last night. It develops constantly. And the reason where we are at the moment is because we work on that culture really, really hard. And what we say here at HubSpot as a product is a great tool for marketing. Our work culture is a great selling point in a recruitment process, and that's why we've got really when we run our recruitment process, part of our selling point obviously, and everything that we do here is actually we do in order to drive the culture. But I think
what HubSpot said. I think it's from HubSpot actually. Correct me if I'm wrong. You say that culture is for recruitment, like product is for marketing. Isn't that
exactly? Yes, that's actually one of our statements. Great. Yes, it's actually part of our statements, and definitely for us, it's very important. Our Glassdoor reviews, what our customers and our candidates as well think about us. Because for us, for me personally, my customers, my candidates, and I want to make sure that they are happy and they understand our culture. And as I said, this is something that we work for the last number of years. And I think there are a couple of things that we really nailed in the past couple of years in order to achieve such a great culture. And when we think about culture, obviously lots of companies, they're saying that they've got great culture, but I think what lots of people say as well is there is a miscommunication between culture and benefits that the company has, because lots of companies advertise themselves as, having great perks, or I don't know, having like those inside the company gym or like ping pong tables. We've got those things as well, by the way, but culture is more as a set of values, set of beliefs, and we want to make sure that everybody in the company understand those values that we run. And obviously, the set of values that we've got here at HubSpot, we set up those values, as I said again, in the last number of years, and we want to make sure that everybody who joins us at the beginning understands our values, and that's why we run a great onboarding program to actually help people understand how we drive our business, how we communicate to our customers. And definitely it's a big part of us. And I think part of, for example, of our chief operations officer says very often is that we authentically live with our culture. We feel responsible for our culture. So everything that we do on a day-to-day basis, we try to, I would say, manifest. We try to communicate to everybody what we really do here at HubSpot and how we drive inside inside the company. And to give you maybe the insight in HubSpot how we do it, so there are a couple of particular elements. It would be a probably long story, but I want to give everybody a few minutes to talk, so I will give you maybe a few main things. First one is that everybody has a voice here, and we are extremely transparent company. what I mean as an employee, we have visibility on financial statements, on minutes from our board meetings. So we know exactly what is happening inside the company. We can make our comments. We know exactly where are we going. There is always a big push to actually develop people inside the company. So when we hire someone, we don't want to offer them just a job. We want them to stay. We want to make sure that we develop them. So we offer them a career where they can move basically from one company to another, sorry, from one department to another, which is a great benefit as well. And also we drive lots of programs, very, very, I would say modern programs here to let people be developed. So like free book program or different TED Talks inside the company. So we know that people constantly develop themselves, and it's not only developed on a day-to-day work, but also develop themselves personally and develop themselves to drive the culture that we've got here at HubSpot.
And I know that someone's behind your back, so to say, because I've been observing this huge Facebook promotion. I'm sure Małgorzata knows what I'm talking about when it comes to Netguru and the culture book. Can you tell us more? Is it a buzzword for you? For sure it's not.
Yes, I agree with Anita. At Netguru, culture fit, definitely it's not a buzzword. I think that our cultures are quite similar. And in general, I think that building up a transparent and inclusive organizational culture is key to a company's success. At Netguru, our culture supports our vision and provides the answers to questions such as what should our cooperation look like, what values do we believe in, what can we expect from one another, etc. And to give a simple example, at Netguru, you can talk directly to anybody else, ask for help, and receive it, regardless of job position or seniority. And I think that that's really cool. And it is safe to question the status quo as well. I mean that not only can you suggest some changes, but also implement them on your own. And it is supported by internal processes and tools. I think it's very important, especially in a remote-first company as Netguru, because without meritocracy and openness, you can easily miss some red flags. So with this being said, when it comes to culture fit at Netguru, we're looking for people whose values align with ours.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned actually two things together, because one, we're talking about people we have on board. How do we cultivate the culture? But the thing is, when you recruit people, when we want to get them on board, how do we assess it? Alina, I know you're running global recruitment campaigns all over the world here. I'm sure you'll be able to share some amazing insights.
Thank you. Thank you. The good thing is that like we have people who all give importance to culture. So I feel confident like I'm in the right place to talk. The bad thing, we have just 5 minutes basically to share all the things that we learned. Like at Insider, after hiring 400 people, after our VP of sales realized that he needs to manage like 21 countries remotely, and it all happened just in the last 4 years. So let's basically like use this time wisely. I'm gonna use these 5 minutes to cover, let's say, a couple of maybe questions of what we do to understand if the person is the culture fit. And second one is like what kind of like tips we can give. Of course, you have your own approaches, but maybe like once you get out of this call, you can feel like at least like I learned something. So what at Insider we do to make people follow those values, and also as a company we make sure that we follow those values too. So during the interview, we apart from all those like qualifications, we also check if their personal values match with the expectations of Insider's, let's say, a teammate profile. And how we do it, we basically validate it with the past experience. If they, let's say, really acted according to their own values in different occasions. And definitely we shouldn't forget that recruitment journey is like two-sided, and they can be like great people, but we as a company might not really feel fit in their imaginary expectation of the culture that they imagine in their minds. So that's why we basically ask them about the ideal environment to work for. And just to give an example, let's say, if I know that the feedback culture at Inside is very strong, which is true, by the way, I know that it can be like negative or positive, but for the sake of personal development, we make sure that we have this exchange. And I know that the person I talk to is kind of like resist the feedback or has some hesitations to, let's say, get the feedback or to even share it, then definitely I understand that in the future, potentially, this person might not feel really comfortable to be in our company. And then what we're doing, we're just telling to the candidate and that's, okay, this is the culture we have. And then we check their reaction, we check what words they use when they try to comment on this, and also like even little maybe facial body language changes. Everything matters here because we have just 30 minutes or like 1 hour to discover it. Then we also ask them situational questions, like looking at how they face challenges in the different aspects of their life, be it like professional, personal challenges, doesn't matter. So for example, what we're usually doing, we're saying that Insider is a hyper growth company right now. So we're trying to follow the transparency approach during the interview as well. And then we're mentioning that it's going to be fun, but at the same time, tough journey for them. So basically, maintaining the transparency will help you kind of like predict the future. Let's say the more people who are open for challenge they join, the better behavior, let's say, you establish within the company, let's say, towards the challenges. And then what we also do, we check their preferences, how they make switches between the jobs, and what type of leaders they like, what type of things they disliked about those leaders or even peers. So you can kind of like track the specific pattern in the of the values that they appreciate in people or they dislike. So then you just for a second think about people who are around you, and you try to picture them within this team and try to predict if they're going to be happy there or not. And plus, let's say, trying to talk to as many people as possible, never comparing them based on their qualifications, but rather trying to understand what is the extraordinary things that they contributed to the company. Because like when you are trying to make friends, what you do, you talk to many people. When you try to choose the best meal, you are trying to go to as many restaurants as possible. And basically talking to like tens or hundreds people will help here to understand who is the right fit. And very quickly, a little bit about like how we maintain this culture. First of all, we invite them to solve the problems. And it was a great point that Małgorzata mentioned. We invite them to the decision making, to solve the problems. We invite them to participate in the strategy meetings that we have. So be it like a dishwasher, or be it inside salesperson, be it a country manager, everyone gathers together once in a month where we share our accomplishments or even failures with our current teammates. And they feel like they're part of something big, and their contribution to the company is also huge. Plus, we really like over-communication. So this year, people joined the company accepting all those values, this culture. So if you want really to emphasize, let's say, that innovation is important to the culture, just give examples. While you are, let's say, while you are giving feedback, emphasize that innovation is important to the culture for this or that reason. So second one, the law of the seed. So the more you give, the more you get. So probably like once the person step in the company, their manager know what they can give. So they can expect specific plans to be seeded by this particular new hire. And then the company needs to make sure that they make the hire feel that we are the ones who are going to fertilize it. But these people need to be adaptable to learning, and we need to adapt to their learning curve. So basically giving them a sense of support. And the last one, giving our teammates an understanding of that their job is important. Again, as I mentioned, be it a dishwasher or something else. And each time, for example, if we grant someone with shareholdership opportunity, we basically give this opportunity equally to people on different levels. So if you promote equality in your company, you cannot imagine the company where only top executives are shareholders. So what we do, we have 80 shareholders in the company out of the of 400 teammates. And so we have like business development representatives, people who have just 2 years of experience, and people who have more than 15 years of experience get the equal rights. So, but lastly, like my own opinion is those people who are adaptable to change, who can sense, who can smell and perceive and also embrace the change, will be basically successful in all types of environments. These are the people that we're suggesting for you to hire and also motivate and make them happier.
Alina, you're like a rocket, you know. You've given us a recipe here on how we should hire for culture fit. I mean, I hosted a webinar about it a month ago, but I didn't make it within 5 minutes. So, wow.
Wow. All learn from all other great companies like HubSpot, Google, and the rest.
Yes. Well, so you've told us how to do it right. So my question now, a challenging question for Saïd would be how we can actually come across mistakes, how we can hire for the culture fit and do it wrong. What mistakes can we make? What is your impression?
Right. So I'm hoping the audio is better, but I don't have the impression.
I have the impression it's not better at all.
It's still not better, right? Let's see if I can.
Well, now you have no voice.
I think it's not that bad, by the way.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, say something, Saïd.
No, we can hear you right now.
No, it's not that bad, Saïd. Maybe you can start that with that previous microphone again. I mean, it's better to have a voice than not having it all when you're supposed to speak up, right? Okay. Fingers crossed. Let's do some wishful thinking. That's what I do, and it works usually in my life. So, move on. Well,
what was the last thing, Nadia, you wished for yourself?
I'm not okay. Saïd disappeared. I would say we have to kind of go with the flow here. So when Saïd jumps back in, I suggest we're going to follow up on that question. But I have some. I also have actually different questions for you as well. So I was thinking that maybe Alina, maybe you could tell us also what do you think influences the success of the company? How could we combine culture fit and the people to make a company successful? What is company success?
Great question. Well, as I just mentioned in the very beginning, that as a company, we really think that like the culture is the most scalable thing. So once you make little adjustments, once you make sure that people not just they come with particular values already, but if you actually lead them towards what is right, and there are lots of rights, but if they join this company, they basically need to accept the right that they have here, but plus giving them a voice and let them actually not only adopt to the culture, but make some little modifications. So providing them with the sense of mission, communicating the big picture, the very like a hairy goal, and then making sure that all other departments are aligned about the goals and the same mission. So, Saïd, welcome back.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. I hope you guys can hear me now.
Saïd, it was actually a good change because now we can hear you great. It's perfect.
Yeah, I just logged out and logged back in. So
no, I think it was my wishful thinking, to be completely honest.
okay, let's blame it on that.
All right. Okay, let's get the question. What mistakes can we face? How can we do wrong?
So let me quickly talk a little bit about what the hiring for culture fit process looks like at 5CA, and then I'll come to your to answer your question if that's okay. So we have a very specific company culture, and we operate in a very specific market, right? So we provide customer care solutions for tech companies, a lot of companies in the gaming industry. So the type of profile that we're looking for when we go out to recruit is very specific. So for us, the actual hiring for culture fit starts even earlier than what Alina described. And thank you for all of those tips, Alina. There was definitely even some stuff for me to learn there. Our process actually starts during advertising. So we do a lot of targeted advertising based on interests. Because we really need, we're really looking for people who are tech savvy, and even mostly we're looking for people who have a strong interest in gaming. So depending on what business you're in, it's really important to potentially look at starting your hiring for culture fit one step before the actual selection process. Then during the selection process, we focus on a number of specific skills and properties, very similar to what Alina described. But we also use certain questions during the recruitment process to poke basically for alignment with our core values as a company, right? So I think there's two different sets of things that you need to look for. So a skill set on one hand, depending on what type of role you're looking for, and what type of company you are, and then obviously alignment with your core values and your company culture. So that being said, I think the first step that you really need to take care of is to define a very clear culture, right? Nowadays, I think there's two big challenges in the global recruitment market, and you guys know this better than me. But there's a tightening job market, so there's more and more opportunities out there for candidates to choose from, the so-called war on talent. And then second, the job market or the labor market is starting to be dominated by millennials, who are very, very discerning candidates, and they really expect us as companies to provide a clear mission and purpose for them to align with or not. And if we don't, then they will look elsewhere. So I think that's a really, really important thing to figure out as a company. So once you do have that, you can go out and put into practice all of those tips that Alina gave, and some that I referred to as well, to make sure that you bring in people who really feel aligned with your culture and bring the right skills and personality to the role to make your company successful. One more thing that I want to warn against as well is and Alina also pointed to this, like it's very important to remain open and transparent, and to stay away from cultiness, right? You want to have a clear culture, but you also don't want to push people away. So you want to have people who align with your culture well, but you also don't want like a monoculture, right? You want to keep diversity flowing. And actually, one of our core values at 5CA is celebrate your inner unicorn. So we think, we strongly believe in, and I believe that we have a very, very diverse set of people at 5CA, and we think it's really important to continue to celebrate that, even though you're looking for certain alignments on certain values.
Well, some great insights. I'm actually glad, because I see that all the things that you guys have said, they're quite similar, which brings us even closer to knowing how to really hire for the culture fit. And that's really cool. But we've touched some really interesting topics here. We've discussed success. We've discussed how to engage people in culture fit. But my question is going to be, now for Kasia, if you could tell us what is going to guarantee engagement of the people, because once we have them, once we want to make the culture stronger, we need the people to be engaged in it, right? So how do we do it? What guarantees it, in your opinion? You're the expert here.
Yeah, I'm actually not just talking about engagement, and I think we are talking not just about engagement here, because I believe there is much wider thing, and actually it's a happiness which is containing engagement but containing other things. And I'm just listening what you were saying. I think we all kind of getting to the same conclusion that there is a lot of things there, but critical will be the sense, meaning of the work. So actually, I think several of you mentioned that people need to have this strong feeling what they're doing makes sense, and this is something which you need to continuously focus on, because the company may changing, the people may changing, the goals may changing. So a lot of leadership around communication and things like that. So in happiness, what we believe, there are several things, but there are, obviously I could talk about it for hours, but few critical is also result and relationships. And actually in the way that you need to focus on both in a balanced way. So I think this is one of the challenge in virtual world, that we do not naturally focus on relationship that in the same way like we do in normal places, because you will meet colleague on the corridor, you will meet colleague in the cafeteria. So I think that's something which need to be proactively approached to make sure people are building strong relationship constantly, and whenever new people are joining and things are changing, this is constantly focused on. And results obviously is easier, I think, everywhere, but the key thing is to focus on that. And last thing which I want to mention is also the being very proactive in way of current workload. We saying in happiness world that busyness is against happiness. So again, how to manage that, watching that, being able to actually spend time on resting. That there's lots of psychological surveys results showing that when you overwork, you cannot be productive, but you cannot be happy, you cannot be creative, and things like that. One of the questions here actually I see is interesting, asking about how you measure the success, engagement, a great culture. So I would challenge you with that question. How happy are your people, but do they really feel happy, or do they think they are happy? And this is a critical difference in this question, that what need to be measured and what should be measured is, do you feel happy today? And measure it every day. It can show you if your people are really feeling happy. In differentiation to the question about engagement, because you can ask, are you satisfied at work? You can ask the reflective question. It's not the same. What I'm a big advocate is to measure real happiness. Are people feel happy at work right now, today, every day? And that's the key question.
That's very true. That's very true, because the thing how we feel reflects the way we work, I believe. And I believe that if you love your job, you're going to do great. But if you hate it, it's going to be a job. We can't talk about engagement and happiness. That's very true. One question, because we've promised our participants here that they're going to have a voice when they vote. So we have 5 votes for one. Oh, for 2 questions equally. That's bad, because we don't have time. So I'm just going to pick one. The one on top is, do you or your recruitment team meet directly with top managers, the COO, the CDO? Shoot, sorry. 6 votes for a different question. I just started, guys. Faster. Okay. So do you meet with your C management? Do you meet with your management, with C-level people, in order to strategize or align culture? Do you do that or don't you do it? Because it's actually really, really important. Who's willing to answer that question?
I'm not directly responsible for recruitment, but I can give you our insights. Definitely at 5CA, yes. The answer is a resounding yes. Our recruitment team meets on a regular, I think on a weekly basis with top management, because recruitment is just of so big strategic importance to our organization.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Because I think that what happens now is that quite often HR works, no offense, I mean, not for you for sure, you're the experts, but I observed that with many companies that they just hire kind of operationally, right? That they know what they have to do, and they just move on. But actually, if you really want to get the best people on board, you have to make sure that they are actually going to be a great fit. But in order to know this, you have to know the mission and vision also, right, of the company, which comes directly from the management, right? But anyway, we have some space for another question. So one more question. For those organizations that don't have a well-known culture, what is the best way to feature it for recruitment? What do you think? Anyone? Saïd is thinking up here, guys. You want to
Yes. Sorry, my response would be figure out your culture first, because I think if you're not sure about what your culture is, or it's not well defined, I think it's dangerous to use it for recruitment, because you're not going to be targeting you're not going to be bringing in the people that you want to bring in. So I would say take a step back and do the homework and really sit down and figure out what your culture is and what you want to project out there as an image, right? What you believe in, what your goals are, what sort of people you want to have work for you. I think that's the place to start.
Yes, I agree with Saïd, because I think when you start to run your own business, at the very beginning of this process, you should define what's the most important to you, what kind of people you want to attract, what goals you want to achieve, etc. And of course, your core values may evolve with you as your company is growing and you learn from your experience, but you should make sure that you are still on track and you are stick to your own values. That's the key to success, I believe, because otherwise it's very superficial. And I think candidates don't believe you if you just put it in a job offer and advertise it as your character. Then.
Yep.
Right. All right, guys. I would say there's going to be tons of questions for sure from different people. Howien's back. I think we're ready to wrap up this amazing panel here. I think it's really a very good outcome, because we agree. I mean, I appreciate diversity. Alina's back. I appreciate diversity, and that's great. But if we want to give our people, our listeners, a recipe on how to do it right, what to avoid, I think that we kind of share the same ideas here, and that's amazing. Howien, the voice is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. This was great. I learned a lot for sure. So now I believe we're gonna have 15 minutes of networking before our next session. So I will see you guys down on the floor and network. See you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.